Yes. Welcome to GCTC.
And
Shaheen
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम शाहीन साहब,
अलैकुम अस्सलाम व रहमतुल्लाह।
कैसे हैं आप?
अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह बिल्कुल ठीक।
आप उर्दू बहुत अच्छी बोलते हैं, ये हमें पता है।
हाँ, उर्दू भी बोलता हूँ, वो पश्तो और
अंग्रेजी,
फारसी तो हमारे नेशनल लैंग्वेज है।
माशाल्लाह। So, Suhail Shaheen साहब, welcome you on the behalf of GCTC to this very fascinating discussion. We've been discussing since 7 o'clock. The topic which is close to your heart today, the Afghan peace process, the way forward. To introduce Mr. Shaheen to our other panelists, although he's a known gentleman, Mr. Mohammed Suhail Shaheen is a member of the Taliban negotiation team and the spokesperson of the political office, whom you must have seen and heard many, many times. His cool and measured responses are often admired by those who closely follow developments in the Afghan peace process, because everybody wants to know what is cooking. So Shaheen sir, welcome once again. No one can deny that Afghanistan has seen much more war and violence than they have seen peace. And it goes back 4 decades. You all understand that it's the Cold War era which created the misfortune of Afghanistan, which is continuing till today, 1979 Cold War, which created two sides, two global power propping up two different sides. And we know, rest is history. You know it very well. So it is very tragic to be repeated. I think most of us who are there on the panel, I think, love your country. I think this country has been made by God himself. Such a beautiful country. Now I come back to the topic today. The semi-structured process. The Americans started a very semi-structured process in 2013 with the setting up of the political office in Doha. And it has taken 7 years really to sign this agreement between the US and the Taliban. So that will be the starting point for the discussion today. Now, this was signed on February 29. My first question to you, Shaheen Saab, is this is an agreement. This is not a peace deal. Peace means absence of war, absence of violence. There is no ceasefire in sight. In fact, there is a very modest aspiration of reduction in violence. Violence comes, which is again very difficult to verify by both sides, as we can see February 29 onwards till today. There's hardly any reduction in violence, and both sides have equal concerns. Both sides are talking about verifications. Now, so Shaheen Saab, how do you see the usefulness of this US-Taliban agreement, which is not a peace deal? Please. Yes.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm honored to participate in this panel. On the basis of the peace agreement with the US, which was concluded in 10 rounds of talks, and after 18 months, there are sequences of the peace agreement. For example, after the signing of the peace agreement, we have a confidence building measure. During that period, 5,000 prisoners of the Islamic Emirate and 1,000 prisoners of the Kabul administration are released, which unfortunately have not been released by the Kabul regime so far. And after, when they are released, then we enter the intra-Afghan negotiation. During the intra-Afghan negotiation, we talk about the future political roadmap of Afghanistan, and also we talk about a comprehensive and permanent ceasefire.
We lost the audio.
It is
Shaheen Saab, not audible. Shaheen Saab, we can't hear you.
Your mic is off.
Your mic is off again. Mic.
Sorry.
Can the host?
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
Could you just repeat your last 2 sentences, please? You were
Okay.
talking about the intra-Afghan and the roadmap, political map.
Yeah. As I said, according to the peace agreement, there is a sequence of steps which should be taken one after another. And the first step is 5,000 prisoners of the Islamic Emirate and 1,000 prisoners of the Kabul administration should be released as a confidence building measure before we enter to intra-Afghan negotiation, because that release would pave the way for the commencement of intra-Afghan negotiation. When we enter, according to the agreement, to the intra-Afghan negotiation, then we talk about the future political roadmap of Afghanistan. All Afghan side would talk about the political roadmap of future Afghanistan, and also all Afghan side will talk about a comprehensive and permanent ceasefire. That is the sequence of the peace agreement. But unfortunately, as you see it, the Kabul administration has not released 5,000 prisoners, and this has become an obstacle and a sticking point in the way of our entering into intra-Afghan negotiation. Still, they want, which is contrary to the peace agreement, ceasefire before, which is, I think, beforehand, everything should be according to the sequence of the peace agreement.
Shaheen Saab, the Afghan side has a very legitimate point that this agreement was between the US and the Taliban movement. This agreement was not with the government of the day. So the government of the day is not really obliged or bound by this. It's a very valid point. It may not be overriding factor in the agreement, but how do you see this objection of the government side or the civil society that they have been out of even this agreement? So why should they release 5,000 people? They will release as per verification. How do you respond to this?
First, this point is not valid because they were in the loop. Every time the Dr. Khalilzad had negotiation with us, then he would go to Kabul and then to Brussels and share with them all the points, and they agreed. They supported the peace agreement. So that is not that they were not in the loop, not on the same page. They were. So when they want the ceasefire on the basis of the peace agreement, at the same time they avoid to release the prisoners on the basis of the peace agreement, and there is a contradiction in their words and their position. So it is not possible to have a peace agreement. If they don't, they ultimately reject the peace agreement. They do not want the peace agreement and oppose the peace agreement. So that is okay. Then we will go to the war. The same, we will go to the war because they do not want the peace agreement. If they want the peace agreement, and that was shared time and again, from time to time, by Dr. Khalilzad with the head of the Kabul regime, but then they should implement the peace agreement, because that is the only way going to a lasting peace in the country and resolving the issue.
So, which means that that the Taliban movement will not be ready for the intra-Afghan peace talks until and unless this 5,000 and 1,000 prisoners are released by both sides. Are you saying that, Shaheen Saab? Are you saying this, that this is a precondition?
We are saying we are committed to the peace agreement. We want what is in the peace agreement, we will do. We have not violated the peace agreement. It is the Kabul side that they are violating the peace agreement by not releasing the 5,000 prisoners. So unless the peace agreement is completely implemented, we will not have reduction in violence and ceasefire, and ultimately a lasting peace in the country.
Okay, so what I hear you say, sir, शाहीन साहब, कि जब तक ये prisoner release का मसला solve नहीं होगा, तब तक तालिबान जो है वो इंट्रा अफगान टॉक्स के लिए रेडी नहीं है।
जी, ये कैदियों की रिहाई जो है वो पीस एग्रीमेंट में एक पार्ट है। जब आप चाहते हैं कि वो पीस एग्रीमेंट के मुताबिक कि अफगानिस्तान के मसला हल हो जाए, उसको सुलह जाए, अमन आ जाए अफगानिस्तान में, तो उसमें सारे पार्ट्स को इम्प्लीमेंट करना होगा। ऐसा तो नहीं हो सकता कि एक आदमी अपनी मनमानी के मुताबिक उसको हल करे। अगर वो हल करे तो ये कोई पीस एग्रीमेंट के मुखालिफत होती है। तो हम चाहते हैं कि हम भी चाहते हैं कि कमिटेड है पीस एग्रीमेंट को, और दूसरी साथ भी अगर अफगानिस्तान में ये अमन चाहते हैं तो उसको कमिटेड होना चाहिए।
So does the Taliban really believe? Here I would make an assumption that you are satisfied with the prisoner exchange and whatever, and we've gone to the next step.
Yes.
Of intra-Afghan talks, right? Let's assume that, Shaheen.
When the first step is taken, we would go to the second step.
Okay, so that brings us to the next question. Does the Taliban really believe that the intra-Afghan talks can lead to a political roadmap which will lead to peace, complete absence of violence in war? Do you really believe that? Does Taliban really believe that?
Yes, that is why we have concluded the peace agreement with the US side. We believe it is the way for solution of the Afghan issue, because the Afghan issue we had divided into two parts. One is the foreign part, which is talking to the US to withdraw their forces from Afghanistan and in the occupation, and the other part is the internal part, which is talking to all Afghan side to resolve the issue and agree on a future political roadmap of Afghanistan. So, and also to bring about a peace, lasting peace. That is our belief. If it was not our belief, we would have not signed the agreement.
So there are two points which contradict. One is that the Taliban in its social media posting and otherwise keeps calling the current Afghan government or even the previous government as the puppet government. So that means there's a very little respect for them as a key stakeholder. That's the message that one gets when one reads those posts. So then if one has very little respect, then I think the chance of a dialogue succeeding it again becomes very low. It's a natural corollary. Second is that the president, Ghani, had appointed has nominated a 21-member team under Mr. Masoom Isteknazai, who's a very experienced person in Afghan affairs. Taliban has rejected the committee, saying that they lacked representation. So there are two contradictions here. You know, the Afghan government is being described as puppet again and again, and the committee that they have nominated is being rejected by the Taliban. So Shaheen Saab, how do you even move forward on the intra-Afghan talks with these two contradictions?
I think there is no contradiction. I just want to explain that. We recognize the Kabul administration as a party to the conflict. That is why they can take part in the peace negotiation, intra-Afghan negotiation. But we do not recognize the current administration as a legitimate government. If we do recognize that as a legitimate government, then why we are fighting? Why if we are fighting against a recognized government that we recognize, so then our fighting would not be a fighting of liberation, while it is a fighting for liberation. So there is two things. We do not recognize the Kabul administration as a legitimate government. That is why we say it has been installed by the US invasion, by the invaders. This is one thing. And the other thing is, yes, it is a reality. We are fighting against them, and they are a party to the conflict. So they are a party to the conflict, and we recognize them, and we will talk with them in the intra-Afghan negotiation about the future of Afghanistan.
Thank you, Shaheen sir. And the second question is about Taliban rejecting the 21-member team appointed by President Ghani,
Yes.
led by Mr. Manthan. What is the objection, and how will that objection be removed? What is the objection to this team?
Yeah, I will explain that also, our position about that. Yes, that is that there is written in the peace agreement that we are talking to all Afghan sides. It is part of the peace agreement. And there were factions, groups in Kabul, factions in groups in Kabul who said this team is not representing us. They are not our representative. So that is why we said the team should be an inclusive team. They should represent all Afghan faction groups because it is part of the peace agreement. We are talking to all Afghan sides. We are not talking only to a Kabul regime. So that is based on their messages, their request of groups in Kabul. We said we want this team to be representative of all Afghan sides.
So, Shaheen sir, does it also mean that only when the current political logjam, impasse, which is there post-election, when it finishes, then only will the government be in a position to nominate a team which will be acceptable to all, including the Taliban? Because currently,
yes, if the faction personalities in Kabul, all politicians, they say, yes, this is our representative team, we have no problem with that. If they say it is not representative, or we say it is not representative from one faction, so that it will be contrary to the peace agreement.
Thank you so much. Now, a slightly different question. The US experts have been seeking and raising concerns about the counter-terrorism guarantee. So the Americans have linked the withdrawal of the troops to securing of their counter-terrorism interests in Afghanistan. And that brings to question, the presence of groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS, EQIS, and what have you. You are quite familiar, Shaheen Saab, with what I'm saying. So how can a guarantee be given that that Afghanistan will not be used by groups which will threaten the Americans? I'm right now just talking about Americans because they have the troops, we don't.
Yes, we have given a commitment that we will not allow anyone to use the soil of Afghanistan against the United States and its allies in any country. That is our policy. And about the Daesh, we are practically in war with Daesh. We clear them from the eastern Afghanistan and from Kunar, from Nangarhar, from Jozjan, Paria provinces, all we do. And there are a lot of evidences that the Kabul administration and official, they are involved in supporting the Daesh. So it's not, that is not what our claim, our allegation, but the parliamentarians in Kabul and even the deputy speaker of the Kabul, and they have started, and it is also the statements appear in the media. So, but we, in spite of fighting the Americans and their bombardment in the Kabul administration, we fought the Daesh, and we lost about more than 1,000 our person in Nangarhar in Kunar province, and we cleared them from all these provinces, the eastern Afghanistan. I think there is no Daesh right now. If they do.
Can everybody please mute? Could everybody please mute there except Shaheen Saab? Please mute your, Shaheen Saab, please continue.
Yeah, if they do not again supported against Daesh. And the other thing is about Al Qaeda. We do not have Al Qaeda in Afghanistan. We have cleared our clearly stated our policy that we will not allow anyone in Afghanistan to use the soil of Afghanistan against any country. And in future, we will make a law for that. If there is anyone using the soil of Afghanistan, they will be brought to court and will be, brought to account and punished according to the law.
So, if we go by the pronouncements in the media and by the Taliban has taken action, has fought against the IS, ISKP, Daesh, whatever. But we haven't seen any action against anyone of standing within Al Qaeda in Afghanistan. Al Qaeda or AQIS, we haven't seen a Taliban taking action against any Al Qaeda. Does it not exist there? Has Al Qaeda completely left Taliban? But there's been no pronouncement for Al Qaeda from the Taliban side, sir.
Yeah, there is no place. Can anyone show me there is Al Qaeda in Afghanistan in 34 provinces of Afghanistan? Because we have a structure. There is our governor in 34 provinces. There is a security officer. There is our health department. There are our courts and all over Afghanistan. So there is no place that to allow any foreigners to be there and to carry out any kind of activity. That is why we say there is no one, because we are committed to that.
Okay, thank you. Shukriya.
May I jump in real quick?
Just one question, because we have a structured question. One question.
So,
only on Al Qaeda, one question.
In September 2019, the U.S. killed Asim Umar, who was the head of Al Qaeda in the Indian subcontinent. In Helmand province, also killed alongside him was Ayman al-Zawahiri's representative to Asim Umar. Secretary Pompeo claimed that the Taliban would work directly and, quote, to destroy Al Qaeda alongside the Taliban. Is your position that if Al Qaeda is inside Afghanistan, you would work alongside the U.S. to destroy Al Qaeda?
Two things. There is some claims that we have detained this or killed this. That is not investigated by us. There we have seen this as many claims which are not true. And the other thing, they said we are not working. We are not working in coordination with any country, with anyone. It is our obligation not to allow anyone to use the soil of Afghanistan against other country. It is our obligation. We do not need the cooperation of any other power or force.
Thank you. So
your position prior to 9/11 was that Osama bin Laden would be contained, and yet Al Qaeda conducted 9/11, and so why should we believe you now? You harbored Al Qaeda prior to 9/11. Al Qaeda attacked the United States. The Taliban promised that Osama bin Laden would be contained. He wasn't. The World Trade Center was attacked. The Pentagon was attacked. Why should we trust the Taliban now when you harbored? We know that Asim Umar. I could point to numerous Al Qaeda leaders who were killed in Afghanistan over the last decade.
Osama bin Laden is the past story. I can't talk about it with you more than 1 hour. There is many things we can talk about. That's not what you are saying, but it is the past story and history. Otherwise, I can talk. If you want another program, I can talk only on that issue, because I was in the beginning. I was also in Islamabad. What happened and how it was. But it is the fact is that during the past 19 years. while we were have been fighting the occupiers in our country, we have not carried out any attack in including in those countries which are fighting us in our land. We have not carried out any attack beyond the border of Afghanistan. Only that we are waging the struggle of liberation. So that is our policy. And as I said, in future we will make a law that anyone go against that law, they will be brought to the court and will be dealt with.
Okay. Shaheen, I'll bring you back to the US Taliban agreement. Shaheen साहब, can you hear me?
Yeah.
लेकिन शायद आप सुन पा रहे हैं मुझे? जी आप सुन पा रहे हैं मुझे?
Yeah.
जी.
Yeah.
So I will read some sequence of events post this US Taliban agreement. 29th it was signed, February 29th it was signed. Then March 1st, you tweeted that following this agreement, all foreign forces will leave within 6 months. Then March 3rd, you said that release of prisoners was a precondition for intra-Afghan talks. Then the video conference took place somewhere around March 23rd between technical teams of your side and the Kabul, the government, Afghan government, with regard to the prisoner swap. And then the Taliban rejected the Afghan team for their talk. Then on April 7th, Shaheen साहब लिखिए मत, just केवल सुन लीजिए because I will make the pertinent point later. I'm just giving you the sequence of events from the signing of the US Taliban agreement. So on April 7th, through a tweet, you informed everybody that the Taliban was withdrawing the technical team because there was no cooperation on prisoner swap. And after that, we know that there's been at least 2 meetings of General Miller and Ambassador Khalilzad in Doha with the Taliban delegation, and there have been some prisoner release from both sides. Are you satisfied with the prisoner release? Before I go to the next question, are you satisfied with the pace of release of prisoners from both sides?
No, I'm not satisfied because it is not on the basis of the agreement, of the peace agreement. They say we are releasing them on the basis of a presidential decree. We cannot bring the peace on the basis of the decree. If you want to bring a lasting peace to Afghanistan, we should implement the agreement, the peace agreement. And the second thing is that you say that I tweeted that the American will withdraw in 6 months. I haven't said that. I said on the basis of the peace agreement, the American should withdraw in 14 months. That's part of the agreement mentioned in the agreement. And the other thing about the technical teams and rejecting to meet the Kabul delegation. The Kabul delegation, they came and wanted to start intra-Afghan negotiation before releasing our prisoners. How it is possible? The agreement say the prisoners should be released first and then intra-Afghan negotiation. And then they say the intra-Afghan negotiation should be with all Afghan sides. But there was only the Afghan Kabul regime delegation, and it was also without releasing the prisoners. So this was something contrary to the peace agreement. And the other thing you say about the technical team, the technical, they agreed with us in Doha. If you send a delegation technical team for identification and verification of the prisoners, we will promptly start releasing the prisoners. When we sent the delegation there to Kabul, and they, instead of releasing the prisoner, they started intra-Afghan negotiation with our technical team. That was not authorized to start intra-Afghan negotiation team before. That was sent only to identify and verify our prisoners, whether they are our prisoner or they are criminal cases prisoner. That's why we call back our team.
So the fact is that from February 29th, after this We have seen all that I've just read, the things have been going up and down, up and down. I want to draw your attention to what NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg said in his intervention on April 14. It is very significant, Shaheen Sahib. He said NATO will continue to stay committed to Afghanistan by way of resolute support, training, etc. so that Taliban understands that they will never win in the battle on the field and they will have to sit down on negotiating table and make compromises. He also called on the Taliban to cease attacks and reduce violence, as this is the only way towards peaceful negotiated solution. That NATO strongly supports intra-Afghan dialogue. It clearly shows that NATO is standing behind the current government or any government and Afghan people and forces and saying that, okay, even if to make sure that they are not militarily defeated, even if they don't militarily win. That's what this statement means. Even if so, they would not allow the current government or any government to be militarily defeated, even if this government does not militarily win. This is what Secretary General of NATO said on April 14. And it was not a tweet, he was speaking live. So, does the Taliban also believe that negotiated solution is the only way forward to end all this war and violence which has ravaged the country for 4 decades or in total? Do you believe the Taliban believe that negotiated settlement is the only way forward, what NATO is saying? Because they seem to be very committed to this way forward. For them, there is no other way forward if I go by what Secretary General said on April 14th.
I didn't hear you clearly. I heard some of the words, but anyway, as a general, I got some general idea. First, there is 2 approaches for the solution of the Afghan issue. One is the military approach, and the other is the diplomatic approach. For military approach, they fought against us, and we fought against them for the last 19 years. And they even once brought about more than about 150,000 NATO and American forces, along with their internal supporters in the forces that they had, which was about 700,000 soldiers. But they could not defeat the resistance, the movement of the people of Afghanistan, the liberation movement of the people of Afghanistan. That is why they approached that to seek a political solution from the Afghan issue. And for that, we established a political office here in Doha, so that we will keep open the doors for political solution, diplomatic solution of the issue, and also for military solution. If they want to resolve that through military, they have not resolved it for the last 18 or 19 years. So we are ready. We are on the field, and the military field, our people are there, and we are here on the diplomatic field, and we have already concluded the peace agreement, and we are committed to the peace agreement. If anyone wants, they violate the agreement, and they want to again use the military approach, their hands are not tied. If they want, okay, the people of Afghanistan have fought for the last 14 years. We can fight for the last even for the 100s more. It is our country. It is our land, and we do not want our land to be occupied.
Ji. So, Mr. Shaheen, Taliban has been showcasing good governance. You know, in your social media, there's a lot about governance, and even in this COVID crisis, there's a lot the Taliban is doing, which is being showcased, and it shows a lot of concern for the people, for their own people. but it also shows a lot of violence in its social media postings. A lot of violence and very brutal, which instills fear not just in the people outside Afghanistan, but also amongst Afghans who are very poor, who are deprived of development. It instills fear when they see that kind of a violence being shown morning, evening, night. Then why is it that Taliban is shying away from a ceasefire and removing such propaganda about violence to assure people within Afghanistan, if not outside, that Taliban is serious about bringing peace to their own brothers sisters in Afghanistan? It's a poor country like India. And why doesn't Taliban do these two things?
Yes, yes. We are, we are not a power supported by or funded by any other country. Our fund comes from the people. Our recruitment comes from the people. We are living among the people. That is why we have a commission for the prevention of civilian casualties. Does the Kabul administration has a ministry for the prevention of civilian casualties? While we have transparent courts. Even people from Kabul in other provincial cities, they are going to the areas where our courts are, and they resolve their cases in our courts because they are corruption free and they are transparent and they are very quick in resolving the issue. These are the realities. But even our leader has said that if there is the possibility of civilian casualties, our commanders has been instructed by our leader that they do not carry out any kind of military operation there. If there is possibility of civilian casualty, we take care of that. Even if there is any commander is committed of any kind of killing of civilian casualty, he is brought to court, he is punished and he is sentenced. We have many examples of that. While we do not see that in the Kabul administration side. But one thing is, that is a reality. In media, there is all the media of the world, they are working against us. So now here in your this panel and forum, you may have had hundreds of programs for the last 18 and 19 years. After this, it is the first time for me that I'm speaking and speaking my position. So how could you know why you have the distorted information and your judgment is on the basis of your distorted information and facts? When I say my position and you hear the position of other side, then you can make a valid and sound judgment. Why it has not happened, unfortunately, during the past 18 years.
Yeah.
And we are waking up that media.
It is in a way good, Shaheen Saab, it is in a way good that the Taliban has come over ground also and is speaking to the world. And so we have had a very serious discussion. मुझे लगा कि मैं आपसे एक थोड़ा सा हल्का सा सवाल पूछूं. क्या कोई औरतें भी होंगी आपके डेलीगेशन में इंट्रा-अफगान टॉक्स के लिए? Will there be women in the intra-Afghan in your delegation for intra-Afghan talks? People keep asking, are there women in your delegation? जी
उर्दू में
आप जी उर्दू में जवाब दीजिए. बिल्कुल. कुछ विदेशी थे तो मुझे लगा वो समझ नहीं पाएंगे, मैं इसलिए अंग्रेजी ज्यादा बोल रही थी. ये तो जबान बहुत अच्छी है जो आपकी हमारी. जी फरमाइए.
उर्दू कभी उर्दू ये है. एक तो जो औरतों के खवातीन के जो मेन राइट्स है, जो उसके एजुकेशन है, वर्क है, उसके लिए हम कमिटेड है. हम इस के बारे में हमारे कोई मुश्किल नहीं है उसके साथ. तो लेकिन एक चीज है कि अकॉर्डिंग टू द इस्लामिक रूल्स उसके हिजाब होना चाहिए. वो एक इस्लामी रूल है. लेकिन उसके अगर वो चाहते हैं कि एजुकेशन में यूनिवर्सिटी में जाए और काम करे ऑफिस में हिजाब के साथ, उसमें कोई मुज़ायक़ा नहीं, कोई मुश्किल नहीं है। तो हम जी
आपके डेलीगेशन में ख़वातीन दिखेंगी इंट्रा अफगान में, will there be women part of Afghan delegation? Will be such a need to
अभी तो नहीं है, लेकिन फ्यूचर में पॉसिबल, सब कुछ पॉसिबल है
जी। तो प्रिपेयर कीजिएगा, आपके डेलीगेशन में अगर कुछ ख़वातीन होंगी तो औरतों को दुनिया की अच्छा लगेगा, अफगानिस्तान को भी अच्छा लगेगा जी। So that brings me to the next very serious question which many people ask, which is a very crucial question: can Taliban really provide good governance as a part of the government? Can they, they come through the election route or whatever? Can Taliban provide real good government? Why? Because there is a question of ethnic diversity in Afghanistan. India is also very diverse, so we know. It is also not the same Afghanistan, Shaheen Sahab. Taliban, now the young generation of Afghans are very aspirational. They have seen the world.
Yes. Sorry.
जी, नहीं आराम से पीजिए आप। तो new generation of Afghans is
yes, we know that.
They know what is happening in the world, so they're very aspirational. It's not the same Afghanistan.
Yes.
Of good governance requires money, experience, expertise, regional and global cooperation. Now you've seen in COVID, everybody is cooperating with everybody. कहीं से दवा आ रही है, कहीं से डॉक्टर आ रहा है, कहीं से कोई मुआह आ रही है. Connectivity चाहिए, regionally markets चाहिए, know-how चाहिए, technology चाहिए. So is Taliban, mentally really ready? Can the Taliban, as part of the government, really provide good governance? Is Taliban thinking about these things? Because it is not 96, it is 2020. बहुत कुछ दुनिया में बदल चुका है, अफगानिस्तान बदल चुका है. So, would you like to comment on this?
Yeah, sure. I would like to comment on this. Yes, it is a reality, and we are aware of the reality of Afghanistan because we are in the country, not only in the rural areas, but in the cities. So, and at the similarly, we have many delegation from the young generation, from the journalists, from the academic people, from the politicians. In Afghanistan, we have met them. We are meeting them regularly, and we seek their views, and we have their views, and we have exchanged views with each other. We have contacts with them, and we have taken into account their views for the future of Afghanistan. It is a fact that after the liberation of our country and an Afghan inclusive Islamic government in the country, we will focus on the prosperity of the people, on their legitimate demands, on the reconstruction of the country and development of the country. And for that, we want to have a relation with all countries of the world, including the neighboring countries and the regional countries. That is part of our policy. And also we want to repatriate Afghans living in other, so we will use their capacities and their qualification for the use of our war-ruined country.
Ji. So, Shaheen Sahab, this brings me to the next question, which is about the Taliban worldview. Is there an ideological barrier between, say, democracy and Islam? Because now, whether it's whether you have democracy or you have some other system, every country has to be part of the international system. There is no standalone. There is no standalone in the sense that one can't just have 2-3 friends. You belong to an international system, and they support each other. So, do you see where do you see the difference or commonality between democracy and Islam? कुछ कहना चाहेंगे आप? जी.
Yes. First of all, we believe in the principle of coexistence. We want to coexist with all other countries, whatever system they follow, and have cooperation, for example, in the construction of Afghanistan, in the educational field, in economic field. But on the basis of the Islamic rules, yes, there is a freedom of speech. There is a freedom of speech, constructive freedom of speech, that we are committed to that. And as I said earlier, to the education of women, we are committed to that, to the development of our country on all fields. So I do not see any barrier in this field that after the occupation is ending in our country, we have a government that we would have problem with any other countries. Rather, we want to contribute to peace and stability in the region and in the world.
So, okay. How do you see the role of your neighbors? You know, Taliban has been now hosted by China, Russia, Iran, Central Asia, outside, of course, Malaysia. How do you see the role of your neighbors, Afghanistan's neighbor? How do you see their role?
Yeah, I think that their role is important in the peace and also after the peace and the reconstruction of Afghanistan. We need we want to have a relation with them on the basis of mutual interest and mutual respect, not only with them and also with the regional countries, but it should be on the basis of our national interests, which our national demand and their national demand. We see it like this.
Okay. So, are there concerns that you have with India?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Pakistan के साथ कोई concerns है?
No, as I said, this is our principle. No, as I said, there is a principle on the basis of mutual interest and mutual respect. That will be our policy. We will have relation with all countries.
There's a one critical relationship that the Taliban has had, which has been very hostile. And whether you have peace agreement, whether you have peace process, or whether peace comes and thereafter, that is with the United States of America. How do you see the relationship of Taliban with the US now, and post, if there is peace, when the peace comes, how do you see the relationship with US? Because today the world is divided into US and China. Okay? And China and Pakistan are closest of allies, and the Taliban is closest to the Pakistan. So how do you see your relationship with the Americans? It seems
Americans, we divide the relation with the Americans into two parts. One part is our relation as they are occupiers. They have a country. That is our hostile relation. We are in order to end the occupation of the country. And the other part is when they finish their occupation and they have investment in the reconstruction of Afghanistan, and that is a new chapter. And a new chapter, we want to have a good relation with America because they will be helping our people. They will not be destroying our country. Rather, they will be constructing our country. They will be investing in our country. So that will be, the quality of our relation will be positive and completely changed from the relation that is in the war situation.
Will it not matter? There will be one side would be Pakistan, China, and the other side would be America? If there are two camps in the world again between the US and China? It's a hypothetical question. We
do not want to be part of any alliance. We want our national interest. On the basis of our national interest, we will have relation with all countries of the world.
जी, तो शाहीन साहब एक बिल्कुल आखिर तक पहुंच रही है हमारे सवाल जवाब. मेरा अगला सवाल ये है कि how do you see the role of Pakistan? पश्तून मूवमेंट पाकिस्तान में चलती है, एक ड्यूरन लाइन का बड़ा पुराना इश्यूज है, बिकॉज Pashtuns are on both sides of the border. They can't be torn apart. Pakistan has also turned against the US pressure and turned in 2001, and that is why some of their own Pashtun commanders turned on them. That is how TTP was made. They're very close to China. They toe Chinese line. How do you see the role of Pakistan, in bringing stability to Afghanistan if the peace process goes forward after that? Do you see a positive role of Pakistan, or you have issues with Pakistan also?
As I said, our relation first, our relation, we want a good relation with all neighboring countries, not in Pakistan, with all neighboring countries. Because after in the future government of Afghanistan, we want reconstruction and development of the country and prosperity of our people. And that can be realized while we will have a good relation with not only with neighbors, but with all regional countries. So I think we will have a construction, a positive relation with all. And that will be based, the criteria for that will be our national interests.
Do you also fear that the growth of extremist ideology that we have seen in Pakistan, again, that is historical. It is historical. It goes back to 79 and pre-79. I'm not saying it has just happened, but does it bother the Taliban that kind of an extremism, I don't want to name it, can wreck the Afghan society? Because Taliban calls itself a nationalist movement, while they are not an extremist group, while there is very strong line of thinking of extremism, at least in some parts and some groups in Pakistan. And you have a close border with Pakistan the way we have a close border with Pakistan. Does it bother the Taliban? Shaheen sir, तेरा सवाल clear था कि मैं
Yes. I think I didn't hear you clearly, but what I have got, I will answer to that. I think no one, no group, no person would have legitimacy to fight against a new Islamic government in Kabul. So that no one have legitimacy, because after the intra-Afghan negotiation, as is mentioned in the agreement, we would have a new Islamic government in Kabul, participated by all Afghans, all factions and all Afghan people. So no one, if there is any phenomena from to continue in our country.
जी. और शाहीन साहब, अगर ये पीस प्रोसेस फेल हो जाता है, what if this peace process fails? There are many ifs. अभी तो intra-Afghan talks भी start नहीं हुई हैं. Intra-Afghan talks will start, then you will have your own issues. They will have their own issues. There are different. As I said, Afghanistan is not, it has changed a lot. It is not 1979. It's not 86. It is a different Afghanistan. So naturally, people sitting in that intra-Afghan talks will have different mindset, different aspirations, different way of what their country should be like, because they have exposure to a whole lot of world, especially young people. So, what are your thoughts on this?
That is why we are telling, and it is also mentioned in the peace agreement, to have intra-Afghan negotiations. And we are insisting to have the intra-Afghan negotiation with all Afghan sides. That include all faction, all Afghan faction. So they come to the table of negotiation. We would discuss the future of Afghanistan, the form of a future Islamic government, and also they would determine the foreign policy of future Afghanistan. So all their demands and their views will be discussed and respected and tabled during the intra-Afghan negotiations. I can hear you.
Thank you, Suhail Shah. Thank you so much for your very valuable insights. बहुत ही अच्छा लगा आपसे ये सुन के आपके we are very thankful to you from GCTC Global Counter-Terrorism Council. आपका शुक्रिया अदा करता है और उसके सारे मेंबर्स आपका शुक्रिया अदा करते हैं. आपने अपने कीमती समय से वक्त निकाला GCTC के लिए. Thank you sir.
Thank you. Please send me a link about what
कहना चाहते हैं.
शाहीन साहब कुछ कहना चाहते हैं?
Thank you very much.
जी, कुछ कहना चाहते हैं?
Thank you. Yes, जी. Thank you very much, and for inviting me to participate in your panel, and we hope the peace is implemented and that bring an end to the 4 decades suffering of our country and so in our country, all countries, especially the regional countries, the neighboring countries, and the world countries of the world, to participate in the reconstruction of our country as true friends and have a peaceful region. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. बहुत शुक्रिया शाहीन साहब.
Thank you. Thank you to all the esteemed members and audience. Thank you so much. Thank you to all the esteemed speakers, Ambassador Amar Sena sir, Professor Nalapat sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all.